So as part of our video spotlight series, we are highlighting various moguls on the continent. Today, we are here with Mr. Emmanuel Danso. Mr. Danso is a social tech entrepreneur focused on using technology to solve the issue of waste management and climate change crisis in Africa. And as a founder of BD Waste is a mobile platform that connects consumers and businesses to local waste collectors and recyclers by offering convenient pickup services, online payment, and incentives for segregating waste. The platform also provides real-time data for local governments, academia, and the private sector to facilitate political and economic decision-making. Mr. Danso, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. It's a happy to join.
Awesome. So as part of the video spotlight series, we're asking several questions. And one of my questions for you is, what inspired you to start a business in the waste management tech space?
Okay, what really inspired me to start a business in the waste management sector? It's probably seeing waste around us every day. So during 2017, 2018, I was doing my national service. So I always used to complain, why is there always waste around and people are not doing anything? But when I was doing my national service, that was when it really struck me, because I had kids who I were teaching, and this kids used to skip school just to collect recyclables and sell to be able to afford stationaries like pens and pencils. So I was like, oh, so me that I'm a grown-up, I'm always complaining, but these kids always see value in the waste that is lying around our environment, and they pick it and they get a monetary value from it to be able to purchase those things that they need to excel in the academics. So I was like, okay, so if I'm done with my national service, there's no way I'm going to look for a job. I have to look at alternatives, ways through which I, as an individual, a grown-up person, can find solution to this waste challenge, so that this kids can stay in school and learn, because it's not their duty to skip school and come looking for solutions for the waste that we, the adults, have generated in the environment. So that was where the inspiration really came from. These kids skipping school and looking for solutions to the waste issues in Ghana.
Yeah, I think that's really remarkable that you saw the situation through the lens of children. I always say children teach us so much, and we should give them so much credit. So yeah, that's really remarkable. Thanks so much for sharing that. So what is your growth strategy for BD Waste for the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see the company growing into?
Okay, so for the next 3 to 5 years, BD Waste, we see ourselves scaling to other regions in Africa. Right now, we see ourselves as the go-to platform when you talk about waste management in Africa. If you want to use technology to solve the issue of waste management, the next big name that should come in mind is BD Waste. And in the next 3 to 5 years, what we are planning to do is, we realize most people in the low middle income communities, they are not able to save much, but what they generate most, what's around them in abundance, is waste. And if you look at waste, it's a resource. So in the next 3 to 5 years, what we want to do is we want to open hubs around these various communities where they can use waste as resource to save for the future of they themselves and their kids. So this time around, as a platform, we are not just collecting waste to recycle, but we are also motivating these individuals in various slums and low middle income communities to save using waste as resource. So that is our growth strategy, to leverage on this abundant resource that is available in these communities and help these individuals to save.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting growth strategy, given that the very thing that we create as waste, you actually want to almost have a reverse logistics to have it be an income generator, which is a really remarkable model, and will give a lot of income back to people in very, very developing communities who need the money and who can leverage that income for better resources in the future. So that's a really, really amazing growth strategy. And I know you talked about waste management and technology, and I want to unpack that a bit. So why did you believe that technology was integral in making this work for BD Waste?
Okay, so if you look at the waste sector, it's heavily dependent on the informal sector. Most people have turned a blind eye on the waste sector. We look at agri-tech, we look at the health sector, we look at the educational sector. When they incorporate technology into their daily operation, you could see like a huge leapfrog from where we as Africans and developing countries where we were some few years back and where we are now. Like there's been a huge development in the few years. But if you look at the waste sector, it's still being done manually. And I believe if we are able to incorporate technology into the various aspects, into the various value chain in the waste sector, in the next 3 to 5 years, there will be huge development. In Africa, there will be huge sanitation development, because this time around, you're not going to see waste lying around anyhow, because like all the parts in the various value chain, technology is being incorporated in that. Also, people are being cautious because this time it's not just waste, but with us, it's something that will help save the environment. That is one. Secondly, it's going to generate revenue and create a lot of employment for people living in low middle income communities, and not just creating employment, but helping them to save. If you are able to use technology and waste as a resource to bridge the financial gap, it helps families who are not able to afford so many basic necessities in life, because we believe it's something that could leverage the ground for us. That's why we are using technology here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk a bit about yourself in terms of being an entrepreneur in this space. What are some of the joys and challenges of navigating this space as an entrepreneur on the continent?
As an entrepreneur in the continent, it's like a roller coaster. It's not always joyful. It's not always sad. The only thing that we get here is we don't have a lot of financial muscles coming in. We don't have like people backing us in the space, in a lot of investment, especially if you come to the wash sector. There's no much institution supporting us. So scaling up is a little bit of a challenge, because in scaling up, you need a lot of cash flow to be able to get the leverage to innovate, come up with new solutions, new ideas. But this is not a case where people are ready to invest a lot in the wash sector. So it's a huge challenge for us in scaling up. It's a big challenge. So it makes you always think about using the little resource you have. It doesn't make you have the opportunity to hire more talent. We believe human capital is something that is very vital in growing as a startup. And if growing as a startup, when you need this human capital, you need a lot of financial muscles to be able to do that. And when you get these people, you are able to leverage upon their expertise, their knowledge, to come up with various solutions. So these are some of the challenges we are facing. But in the next few years to come, we see the entrepreneurship ecosystem to be more matured, because right now the government is inputting much support into it. We have so many hubs that are being opened to support the entrepreneurship space. The only thing that is lacking is cash flow into the market. So I will entreat everyone to, if you are an angel investor, if you are someone out there that have extra cash, you push it into the human capital in Africa and into the entrepreneurship ecosystem. You are just going to reap, you are not going to lose.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that perspective. I think one of the things I wanted to dive a little deeper on is given that this is a very nascent, industry right now on the continent, why are we seeing not a lot of institutions backing waste management companies like yours?
Okay, so if you come to the waste sector, it's not, like I said, it's heavily dependent on the informal sector. Gotcha. Technology is not well incorporated into it. So if people are to come in, there's a lot of risk to be taken here. If you are not somebody who is ready to take risks, it pushes you away, because you are not just going to reap your investment in the shortest period of time. You need to put enough resource into bridging the gap So it's like something that you invest to recoup your money in the next 3 to 5 years. It's not something that you invest your money, you're just going to get it back, because you need to bridge all the broken chains in the value system. So we need people who are like risk takers. People are not kind of like eager to invest so much because of the risks that is here. They need to do a lot of groundwork, leverage the playing field to be able to reap their investment. So it pushes them back because there's a lot of work to be done here.
Yeah, yeah. That is very fascinating. Yeah, I think risk is something that a lot of people have that perception of the continent, that it may be too risky. But I think, as you mentioned, being an early investor might mean reaping a lot of benefits in the future. So I think, given that this is an opportunity for all the audience members who are there, who are interested in investing on the continent, these are some of the initiatives that they can certainly invest in and back the founders like you who are trying to make a change and solve problems through technology. So one last question I have for you is, do you have any advice for the audience, for people like yourself? You know, maybe it's not through the national service that they found your inspiration, but just sitting here listening to you, they might be inspired by trying to solve problems, by being a founder and by creating their own thing. What advice do you have for them in navigating entrepreneurship as an entrepreneur on the continent?
Okay, so my advice to you guys out there is the entrepreneurship ecosystem has a lot of potential in Africa. We have a lot of playing field that is being untapped here. And if you look at the continent in the next 5 to 10 years, most of our population are going to be youth. And when we talk about youth, that means a lot of human capital here. So if you start your business, that means in the next 3 to 5 years, you are going to get a lot of people who are going to work for you, bring their expertise, and they are bringing their human capital to help you. And being an early person, that means you are not just going to reap the human capital. The population is going to increase. That means demand for goods and service is going to increase. And especially in the waste sector, people are going to generate enough waste, and they will need innovations like this to serve them. So if you are able to start right now, that means you are going to capture the market in the long term. There's a lot of potential in Africa. There's a lot of money to be gained in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. The thing is, you're going to feel like me investing a lot of my time, my resource, and my money into it is not going to be worthwhile. But I'll just promise you, me being in the ecosystem, I've seen it, and I'll tell you, like, in the next 3 to 5 years, those who come in early are going to reap a lot. Yes, there's a lot of benefit to gain.
Awesome. Well, I hope that inspires the audience to not wait. The time is now to be an early investor. So thank you so much for your time, Mr. Danso. This was very insightful, and we wish you all the best of luck with VD Waste.
Sure.